So, hey everyone, I am so glad to be back with my next guest for Quick Conversations with Sarah Auda. As you know, this is a mini interview series to elevate female voices. While I work with a ton of female founders specifically, this is really an invitation for anyone watching this to get access to new resources, new ideas, new people, new professionals. You might end up working with some of these people. You might end up getting a really great resource, right, from some of these talks. Today, I am so excited to introduce my next guest. Nuzayra is here from NH Legal. They are a boutique intellectual property law firm. And the stories that she has shared with me are very entertaining and very educational. I feel like one of the things I love about Nuzayra is that she is an educator as she is engaging, whether that's in a professional conversation, a networking conversation, or a prospecting client conversation. Her and I have talked about IP in my own business and work. I have been so blown away with her process, her approach, the leadership culture that she really embodies, and just the professionalism and the nuances that she really understands in her particular area of law. So all of you are going to enjoy this so much. Nuzayra, thank you so much for being here and being a guest. I know you're calling in from Los Angeles today, but you are a world traveler.
Yes. Well, thank you, Sarah, for that introduction. And yeah, I am a world traveler, at least for this year. I'm based out of Los Angeles, but the nature of my work is such that we practice mostly federal law. So it's intellectual property, and intellectual property is mostly federal. And so we represent clients all over the United States. We also represent clients who are in Europe, Australia, Asia. Um, some of them are launching their businesses in the US for the first time. Some of them have been around in the US, but now they're thinking about scaling in the US. So we get to work with these amazing brands. And because of that, because a part of that, I have to travel. Which I enjoy doing. So it's not even like a headache for me, or it's not something really annoying. I genuinely enjoy going to new places, interacting with new cultures, learning about new countries and new people. So it worked out great in that sense that my career evolved in a manner that also gave me the space to entertain things that I like doing even in my personal life.
Yes. Well, and one of the reasons I think you and I really clicked and connected so well when we met is I am such a big fan of helping my clients create their dream life and business together. Like they don't have to be separate. And for many of us, I mean, I spent 15 years in corporate roles where someone else told me where to go, when to show up, what to do, how much time I could take off. And so entrepreneurship, it's like you get to build whatever business you want. You want to be in Italy a month out of every year? You can create a context in which you can do that, right? So I love that we share that idea of like you get to create your dream wherever you are, and the permission to do that and to give ourselves that permission is such a gift. So well,
Absolutely.
with that, and I mean, obviously, we don't have time today to go all into like the full background of how many different countries, cultures, industries, people, experiences that you've had that have kind of led you to this critical moment where you're able to be an expert in the way that you are, and so artfully do your work. What I'm excited today is for our listeners to be able to hear the number one question that I start off with every guest, which is what do you think from your own unique experience in the world leading all up to this moment right now? What do you think people need to know right now?
That's such a great question. And I think from the perspective of an IP attorney and also just a woman founder, what I think most people need to know is number one, there's no such thing as a good idea because ideas are not protectable. So you cannot really protect ideas. What you can protect is how you express those ideas, the execution of those ideas. So when you have an idea in your head, don't think that, oh, this is not good enough or the market is saturated. And, why me? All of those limiting beliefs that you have, just set it aside because the way you are going to bring your idea into the world, it could be that, yes, that idea has been implemented many times. It will have your unique flavor in it. You will bring your own style of execution to it. And it could be something truly amazing. It could be something that is very beneficial for humanity as a whole. Your business could be impacting lives. So don't underestimate the power of your own abilities, of your own ideas, but don't sit on your ideas. Because if you have a great idea and you think that's just going to stay with you, that's not the case. Someone else might, if you're discussing these ideas openly without having NDAs or any kind of protections in place, and if it is genuinely a good concept, someone else might actually go and build it. And at that point, you really don't have much recourse. If you had no legal protections, you did absolutely nothing to execute it. So that's from, I would say, from the perspective of a founder myself and from an IP attorney. This is what I see most of the time, just stopping people from truly realizing their full potential is that they're going to think about something really awesome, but they won't take the necessary steps to bring it to life. And once they do, they don't take the necessary steps to even protect it or claim ownership of it.
Yeah. And I mean, for those of us who are founders, especially, or creators in general, right? An idea is a creation.
Mhm.
The responsibility that we have, like, or to feel like this is ours to birth, but then it's what are we doing once it's on the outside, right? Once you
Yeah,
have a kid, you still have to caretake and feed and
exactly.
right, educate and all the things. And that's really where your job is really to help ensure the sustainability of these good ideas that make impact.
Oh, 100%. I remember one time there were these two founders. They booked a consultation with me and they had this amazing idea of building a business based on licensing. And that is something that in my line of work we get to do a lot, which is licensing deals. And those are great sources of revenue if you can be a licensee and get a licensing contract for well-known, beloved animation characters. Maybe you can turn them into merch. There's many other ways of doing licensing, but that was one example. So these two founders came to me like that is their idea. They want to build out a licensing model. And like you said, a part of my job is to also look at ideas and give founders some amount of reality check of, where you're at and what you're trying to build. Is this even viable? And so I had to push back on that idea and say that this is a great concept. But if you go to pitch to all of these animation studios now with no background of your own, why are they going to give you a license? You first have to show that you've sold similar types of products in the market. You have experience with distribution, manufacturers, that you've made X amount of sales. Like you understand how to generate sales and revenue through this type of merch or this type of product. And only when you have that available can you actually go to major studios and say, hey, I would like to license the rights to make Spider-Man socks, for example, for 2 years and give me the license. And why I said that to them is because when they were telling me what their idea was, they were also showing me some design characters that they had developed, but they had put them on the back burner thinking, this is not really good. This other licensing model is a faster route to getting sales and being successful. But the truth of the matter is that it's the designs that they had created that was original to them that is the revenue driver. Because if you can show proof of concept, you can show that you understand the market, you're able to sell these designs, turn them into physical products or YouTube series, whatever you want to do with them. If you can demonstrate that, that is what you take to those bigger animation studios. Like, look at the success that we've built here. This is why you need to partner with us. So sometimes when I speak to founders and they come to me with their business plans and their ideas, that is also part of the job is to be real with them because I want my clients at the end of the day to win, but to also have sustainable businesses and not crash and burn. If you might think like something is amazing, it seems like a shiny object, and then you go all in on it, it doesn't work out, and then you just give up entirely on the business. But if you have like a third party or a neutral person looking into it and saying, hey, actually, this route is better. It's less expensive. You're not going to burn out. It's going to build your own IP, your own equity. So you have that. And then on top of that, you can layer this additional thing you want to do. So it's more money, more success, and more longevity for the business.
I so appreciate what you just shared because I think I think sometimes, right, when someone starts a business, they are in the creative aspect, the dreaming
Mhm.
aspect. What could this be? And what could the impact be? And what can we do with this?
Yeah.
Right? There's this excitement of being an artist and a creator in some way, right? No matter what the product or service or, business is. But then I think that there's kind of we can get the scaries around legal, right? And there are so, like, I talked, my business attorney who does all my contracts, she was like, listen, there is no end to how much you can legalize your business. Like
Mhm.
there is, I mean, there will always be something to tweak, to add, to, adjust because the possibilities are endless, right? Of what could happen or what you could have protected or all these things. So she said, you kind of need to shore up those main priorities
Mhm.
first, right? And one of the things I appreciate about you, in addition to you're such again, I come back to this like an educator. You're not just there to be like, I'm an expert on this and I can answer your questions, but you're like, let me share why I think this is the best way. And even in my personal consultation with you for my business, there was a lot of conversation around, well, it depends on your objective, Sarah, right? If you want to do this, I'd recommend these three things. Here's the price range. If you want to do that, here's what I'd recommend and why, and here's the price range. The most cost-effective way to do this would be this.
Yeah.
And I oftentimes don't see that in attorneys, right? Either the social skills might not be as much there, or maybe it's like the passion, right? That's there. Maybe being a female founder, working with a lot of female founders, you experience that. But I think to find someone who has your best interest in mind, not just compliance, not just the legal parts, and then also to be looking at how can I actually save my client time and money? And there are
Mhm.
some attorneys that are out there, right, who are not thinking about this at all. And they're just billing, billing, billing every 15 minutes, right? And that's what gives us the legal scaries, I think. But that's just one thing I want to highlight in this, particularly like the fact that you really are looking out for your client's best interest and not just, right, the transaction pieces to that. So
Yeah.
I love that about you.
Thank you. And I think that's one important thing that you touched on. A lot of attorneys do lack social skills. I don't know why, but they just do. And that's why I've heard many times from other founders as well. They say that, we don't really like attorneys or we don't really like talking to attorneys. And they've said it to my face. They're like, we don't really like talking to attorneys at all, but
Uh-huh.
but you seem cool. And I think it's that. A lot of attorneys, and this kind of goes back to law school. When we are trained in law school, we're not really trained to think about business growth in that sense. It's more about how do we protect the client and how do we aggressively advance our client's interests. So that's the training we get in law school. It's only when you actually come out of law school and you start practicing, and depending on what kind of company, if you're in-house, or what kind of law firm culture you go into in your first or second year, that is when the critical development happens, where you understand what a business actually needs versus, yes, your attorney's right. You can take care of legal matters day in and day out. There is no end to it because also the the scary part I would say about running a business is you are open to liability. And that's just one of the costs of doing business, is that you're opening yourself up to liability. A client might be unhappy, a random internet troll might be unhappy and then take legal action against you. These are all possible. But what makes it easy for founders now, I think, is I don't think I'm the only one. There are other attorneys as well that do not bill by the hour anymore, that we bill flat fees. So the clients have cost certainty. It's predictable. They know that, okay, if I put 2,000 or if I put 5,000 in, this is exactly what I'm getting in return, and I'm not going to get a surprise invoice at the end of the month. I think that kind of assurance and peace of mind is important for founders to be able to access high quality legal services, because this is one area of your business where if you try to DIY it, it is just, I don't know, like I don't recommend most of there's some things you can DIY that's legal, but if you try to DIY like major aspects of your business, the legal side, it actually opens you up to more lawsuit potential. It's more liability. So it's not an area where You can just be like, I'll go with the cheapest person, or I'll go with the person that's, the most flexible. You have to find someone who A is good at what they do and B who understands your business. And I'll add one more thing. The reason why I think that I understand business, one is obviously I'm a business owner myself, but also right out of law school, my first job was in-house design counsel for this company that used to make merch for major animation studios such as Disney, Marvel, Nickelodeon. And we were a small startup. And my boss at the time, who was maybe like, I don't know, maybe just like 6, 7 years older than me, like we were all really young. He just said that, when you are looking at legal claims, Nuzayra, I want you to think not only like a lawyer, but also like a CEO. Think about, how can we reduce our budget for legal and how can we allocate more budget to product development because that's where the money is coming from. Because legal is, at that point, he's like, the only thing I see with legal is money's going out, but I don't see money coming in. But that also turned around because of that thought process. Like you have to think like a business owner, like how can I make money? How can I reduce expenses? So I don't know if I shared this with you, but we even turned our infringements into a source of revenue for the business. So if you were infringing, you either become a licensee, an authorized licensee, so you basically license from us, that company, or you have to pay us your profits, like in damages. Either way, we were going to make money if you copy the brand. And that was that was a part of our revenue strategy. So it helps when the attorney that's working on your matter, especially if it's a business law matter, if that attorney was also part of a business like that, where you were forced to think like a business owner, not just like an attorney. And I think that has helped me tremendously. And even now, when I advise my clients on licensing and deal making, those early years of training that I got at that company where we were practically all just trying to figure out what's the best course of action, it still helps me today.
Well, what I love about what you just shared is, I mean, this is a huge part of my work because I'm industry agnostic, right? As a business strategist, it's hard to quantify, right? I mean, I
Mhm.
can share case studies and things, but I often use this language. I don't tell you what to do. You're the expert in what you're doing, whatever the industry is, whatever the trade is, whatever, right? You know the product, you know the service, you know your industry. I'm here to help you with how you conduct the business. How are you scheduling? What are the values? What's your client acquisition process? What's your marketing plan? What's your strategic 5-year plan? We're looking at the big picture, mining down all the way into the functionality and operations of it.
Mhm.
Because I mean, and you've dialed this in, right? But the what you do, the legal part is different than how you run the business, right? Those are
Yeah,
two different skill sets, really. So
yeah.
functioning as a CEO with that in mind, right? Which again, what you create for your clients is something that I just love so much. And I think everyone would be so lucky to work with someone like you with their IP, honestly. Um, and what I also appreciate is that like your natural giftings and leadership skills get to come out and shine through. Like I know this is something you could talk about for hours. So not only do you get to do the attorney piece, but like the panels and the speaking and the
Mhm.
educating, right? And the interviews and things like that. It's so fun to be able to see that it's not just you behind a desk, right? Like making things happen, but
Yeah.
this is you, right? This is you really like serving at a very high level. And I think for those of us who are, I know you don't necessarily market yourself this way, but concierge, luxury, high net worth, right,
Mhm.
clientele, there is kind of this expectation. They want to have not just the certainty that you're going to deliver on what it is that they're looking for, but that white glove process,
Yeah.
right? The real true attention to detail, the understanding of the bigger picture, right? Stepping in and helping to take care of some of those questions before they're even asked, premeditative service, right, to your clients. So as we close up here, I mean, of course, we want to know how people can access you and get more of your goodness. So, socials, email, website, etc., whatever you want to share. But before we go into that, I want to know, is there one action item that someone can take from this? Is there a question, a prompt, a resource, right? Something that they can do actionably to kind of go deeper into these questions about like, what does my business even need? And what is even IP? And right, there are
Mhm.
some people who might not even know. So what would be a first
Yeah.
step in exploring this?
I think there's a couple of things founders can do. One thing that I do want to let founders know now is this is very important. I know we're sharing a lot of information with AI, and that is a great place to start. So if you want to find out just core concepts like, hey, I am a founder, I have this idea. What is intellectual property? What should I really know about it? Ask ChatGPT, ask Claude, and that's free, that's free. So just take advantage of that and get that education. But beyond that, don't share much because if you share your thoughts and ideas and also sensitive legal or business information with Claude or ChatGPT or any AI tool now, all of that is discoverable evidence. So you want to be very careful about that. You don't want to share anything with a chat bot or anything with an AI that you wouldn't want read out in public in a court of law. And that includes your business plans, marketing strategies. I mean, you can brainstorm, but don't put all of your thoughts in there. And especially if you have legal questions specific to your business. So not general education, but more like, I just found out that the brand that I want or the brand name that I'm using, I just found out somebody else is already using that and looks like they're doing the same thing or similar thing that I'm doing. Things like that, you don't want to go down a rabbit hole with an AI tool. One is it's not going to be able to give you legal advice, which is what you need. And two, it also shows intent to infringe that, hey, you knew that there was another brand out there that was using the same name
Mm-hmm.
clearly because you were chatting about it and you continued using it anyway. So I wouldn't do things like that. For when you have questions like that, that's when you definitely talk to an attorney because it stays between you and the attorney. And one thing you can do in that same breath, I would say, if you're coming up with a new brand name, a new concept, try to find out if that brand name is available for use before you go all in spending money on marketing, branding, and advertising, because it's very expensive to rebrand once you've established a brand already versus if you're still a new business and you need to change your name or you need to change your logo, whatever it is, it's better to do it at that time. So for that, I would say you can go to uspto.gov. This is also completely free. And you can do a trademark search there. Not for logos or designs, that's more complex. You need to put in codes, which no one knows what they are, except in my firm, it's my paralegal who's better versed in it than I am. But if it is a word or a phrase, then you can type out that word and you can see what the results return. If you get an exact hit, go and look into it. What is the category of goods and services that trademark has been filed under? And if you see it's the exact same category, well, you now know like maybe that's not a great name to use, but then you can go to a trademark attorney and actually share those results. Like, hey, I ran this search. This is what I found. Do you think it's even worth pursuing this name, or do I need to change my name? But those initial things, that first search, you can just do a quick search on your own. It's not going to give you the best results. That's a disclaimer. It's not going to do a comprehensive search that you actually need before you file a trademark, but it's going to give you that instant answer like, is this even worth going through an additional search or not? So those are some things that I would say you can do for free.
Okay. Amazing. And I mean, I would be so impressed. How many people do their research before they come to you? Would you say
Um,
like that?
so most of the founders that I'm speaking to now, they actually do come to me with some kind of background.
Working knowledge, some sort
Yeah,
of, okay.
they're
Uh-huh.
not completely clueless.
Hmm.
I think that has changed. I think ever since AI came into the picture, that has changed. So in many ways, it's made my life a lot easier during consultations because they're coming primed with some basic knowledge, and then obviously I can route them on the right direction. But a founder that comes and has run absolutely no search, that is rare. At the
Mm,
very least, I think the last client, we just onboarded a fashion client, and they ran a Google search. So they didn't go to USPTO, they didn't have that information, but they ran a Google search and they found something. And that's what made them want to know more. Like, okay, we're about to launch a fashion brand. That means retail space. That means tags, products with the name on it. That's a lot of money about to be wasted if we don't know if we can even use this name in the first place. So that was a good place for us to start. And it was a good consultation because we got straight to the point.
yes. So this is, I mean, this is a good reminder, right? If you have a vision in your heart, if you are creating something, if you are really at the point of ready to press go, have a conversation, right, with Nuzayra or an IP attorney who can
Yeah.
help, right, guide those next steps because our businesses are our babies. And, right, how awful would it be for something to happen, right, to that? And I know you've already shared with me like horror stories of, situations like this. So, and even no matter how, I mean, you and I were just talking before we press record about Selena Gomez, right? And the lawsuit that she's in.
Yeah.
No matter what stage of, right, or status you are, right, in celebrity or not, right? We're like all of us are open to potential, right?
Oh,
Um,
yes.
right, gaps in how we're running things. So,
Absolutely. I think that is also one important thing that a lot of small business owners, especially I would say women founders, I've heard this more. And I definitely want women founders to to get over this because they think like, oh, we are sorry about that. They often think that we are so small, we're just starting out, who's going to copy us, who's
yeah,
going to
of
sue us?
course. Yeah.
And the thing is that if somebody wants to copy you or if somebody wants to file a lawsuit against you, they really don't care about how small you are or how big you are. Liability is liability. Lawsuits are blind. That is not something you want to do, especially in this day and age, because one of the litigation clients we had for trademarks, she was a small business owner. She had a nail salon in New Jersey, and she got sued by a fashion company based out of LA. The size of the businesses was just like our client was like here in terms of revenue, and the litigator was here. They didn't care. This was a small business. They were like, no, you have a name that looks very similar to ours. There's a chance that people might get confused when they're searching online, and we don't want to take that risk. So shut down your business. And she was a small business owner. So don't think that just because you're small or you're really big that this cannot happen to you. It can happen to businesses at any level. So the smartest thing that you can do is to have ownership over your main IP. Not everything, like we said, legal is ongoing, but your core things like my brand name, my logo, like things that are very client facing or you use in your marketing, you have to have control over it. Your domain names, your social media handles, because if you don't have control over it, somebody else can come and just take it from you. You don't have a business. You're out of business. If you can't market yourself, that's it. You're
Hmm.
done.
Right. Yeah. Right. Wow. Well, I mean, I know you have stories for days and I could talk to you
Yeah, I
forever. I mean,
know.
Nuzayra, I mean, this is so interesting to me. And I think thank you, right, for being such an asset to me and my community in this because the more information we have, right, the better we can be. And we're not here to build hobbies, we're here to build
Mhm.
businesses. And this is right, these are the sorts of things that I want my community to know about so that they can have the sustainability, right, for their
Mhm.
dreams that they're cultivating. So thank you so much for your time. Where can people find out more about you? Where can they contact you, your firm, right?
So you can go to our website, which is www.nhlegal.net. You can also find me on Instagram, which is my first name, Nuzayra ESQ. And it's the same handle on YouTube, LinkedIn, everywhere. So you can find me on LinkedIn as well. And you can also follow our account, Legally Savvy CEO, where we post about these kinds of case studies, brand stories. So those are some of the ways you can get in touch with us, or you can email us as well at support@nhlegal.net.
Wonderful. I'll put all those links in the notes for the show as well. Nuzayra, thank you so much for your time and your expertise. I so appreciate it. And until next time, everyone, thanks for being here.